There's better if I pull my mic away from the computer. Is it less hiss now?
No, it's still about the same.
No. Okay. Well, let's just be the microphone.
All
My
right.
fan's kind of running loud.
All right, I'm gonna start a stopwatch here. All right, we ready?
Roll.
All right. Hello and welcome to Wi-Fi Optional, the weekly tech show where we talk tech so you don't have to. This is episode 24, recorded May 9th, Monday, May 9th, 2016. And my name is Rukshan Wijaratna, and as always, we're wearing official Wi-Fi Optional gear. With me is Mr. Jason Watercott over the internet. Hi, Jason.
Yes, sir. How are you? We finally got together on the outfit coordination.
We did, yes. And I'm thinking pretty soon we should have some of these T-shirts and paraphernalia available on our website. We'll see what we can do.
It'll be fun.
Yeah. So lots of little interesting news, and then one big, actually really cool article for our deep dive. Anything else that caught your eye this week, Jason? That you know of? Oh, how's your 3D printer?
No, it's it is not functioning quite well right now. I think it's a power issue. When it comes from China, and you have a selection of 220 or 110 volts, this weird-looking power supply, things tend to go a little wanky sometimes, and I am going to be putting a multimeter on it after the show, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, this guy's still doing pretty good.
He's still kicking. Yeah, I get the black his black partner printed out for you next, so we'll see what happens.
Right. Well, we're 2 minutes into the show. Let's get things rolling.
Virtual reality company NextVR is teaming up with global entertainment producer Live Nation to bring hundreds of live musical performances to people around the world. Viewers will be able to take in gigs from the front row, on stage, and even backstage with added bonus of optimized 3D audio. The schedule hasn't been announced just yet, but NextVR is set to launch this summer. Quoted as saying, "All Live Nation events are possible candidates, and there will be some very big names included," end quote. A NextVR spokeswoman told CNET, "We are planning the slate now. NextVR has already immersed users in NASCAR races, various sporting events, and political debates through its VR app. So as live events go, major concerts seem an obvious next step. The app is currently available in Samsung's Gear VR headset, but is set to come out to other devices soon," the company is said. So we were kind of talking about this for the show. It's the sports where there's cameras everywhere, and especially like NASCAR with tiny cameras in every car, and the little golfer cameras in the raceway and stuff. Kind of makes sense, but concerts have always kind of been something else that kind of made sense, but having good audio, like I said, the 3D audio, I think is really going to sell it, because video is only as good as the audio 9 times out of 10. So it'd be interesting to see how this turns out.
Yeah, and then like you mentioned, there's already a plethora of cameras when it comes to NASCAR. There's footage that they can capture from pretty much every angle in a car. So why not take all that data and then sum it up to one stream and then feed it over a 360 degree data feed, so you can watch it through a VR headset. Now the other part of that is, it's just amazing how quickly virtual reality just took off. I mean, it's almost like it ramped up, and then all of a sudden somebody pulled the gates, and the floodgates opened, and then now all these avenues are starting to take off, and there's a multitude of commercial applications. So it's going to be pretty interesting to find out where these things are gonna step into next. And I can see the real estate market taking off, saying, "Hey, you're buying a house here, drop this headset on, or wear this headset, and now you can actually have a virtual tour of the house," or whatever the case may be. So there's a multitude of applications. And moving on, Windows 10's free upgrade deadline looms. Windows 10 was launched on July 29th last year, and it's precisely 12 weeks uh, till its 1 year anniversary. Microsoft made no secret of the fact that you could upgrade for free from any qualifying previous version of Windows, including Windows 7, 8, and 8.1. Um, but also that you could only get it for free for a year. However, after 29th of July this year, just 12 weeks away from today, you'll no longer be able to get the new OS for free, and you'll have to pay a large sum to get it, even if you own a genuine version of Windows 7 or 8.1. The second part of the story is there's an article on How to Geek that describes how you can still possibly get it for free. There's a little prep work. Um, the TLDR version is if you own an operating system that's eligible for a Windows 10 upgrade, you basically get your device ready for an upgrade, but you don't launch the upgrade. Once you get it ready, it sends an authentication handshake between your machine and the Microsoft server saying, yes, this machine is good. So even after the 29th, as long as you have that authentication handshake, you can still upgrade to Windows 10. I have two machines that are running Windows 10. The others are all running Windows 7 so far. I'm happy with it. Much better than what Windows 8 used to be. They kind of brought the start menu back, and I think overall the perception of Windows 10 versus Windows 8 is a lot of people like it, and I think the free upgrade is also catching a lot of people's eye.
Yeah, and like you said, I believe it's a and there's no reason not to do it. But I think it makes sense for Microsoft to do this because, eventually the free updates for lifetime kind of thing, you need to kind of draw a line somewhere, and all new machines at some point in time are gonna have to start paying a license to get this. You're not just be able to hand it out for free. From that point in time, you should be able to have a new license or a new upgrade for free after that. But it's kind of interesting. I think that comes almost exactly 1 year since it was released. I think it was released on the end of July officially. I know I was a Microsoft insider, so I had it from like Christmas time, almost 2 years ago now. But it makes sense, even though I know a lot of people are kind of up in arms about this. But if you haven't been able to do it in a year, well, I guess that's your problem.
Yeah, plus the other thing is it's going to be a lot more secure, and I think that's one of the biggest things with Microsoft. It's the operating system landscape is so fragmented, and there's still tons of machines that are running Windows XP, and there's a lot of ATMs that are still running Windows XP for their backbone. And then from a security standpoint, there's so many vulnerabilities that are there. So if you still are on any of those operating systems that you can upgrade, go ahead and upgrade.
Exactly. Third story up the bat here is UPS experimenting with drone delivery with a partnership with Zipline. It's likely to be a while before Amazon can drop a pair of socks off at your front door using a drone, but that's not stopping other companies from embracing drone delivery in other ways. Zipline is setting up a network of autonomous drones in Rwanda to deliver blood, vaccines, and multiple medical supplies to remote areas of the country. The startup is said to be delivering packages to the country's 12 million citizens in 30 minutes once it begins rolling out its network in July. Now shipping and logistics giant UPS wants to get involved. On Monday, the foundation arm of UPS announced it's teaming up with Zipline and the Gavi Alliance, a public-private partnership group focused on immunizations in poor countries. The organization said UPS will bring its expertise in logistics to help Zipline deliver temperature-sensitive vaccines and blood to remote areas. UPS is also be using the opportunity to closely observe how Zipline approaches drone delivery. Unlike other popular quadcopter drones, which rely on four propellers, Zipline drones are fixed wing, meaning they glide on two wings. The drones fly autonomously and follow a set path using GPS to track their position. They're launched with a car-sized slingshot contraption from the ground. The Zipline drones make deliveries by dropping cargo with parachutes attached. Each drone can carry up to 3.3 pounds. The company plans on making up to 150 deliveries per day in Rwanda. Communities will be able to request deliveries through their phones with either the app or a simple text message. Really cool. I like what they're doing here, and the fact they're bringing UPS in, because we both know one of the probably the harder things to do is frozen or temperature sensitive things. You really have to pack them with a special insulation, a really dense foam, and then they usually put dry ice in there with them as well. So having their expertise on that, and then I really like what Zipline is doing here, using I don't want to say safer, but I guess in people's minds, I guess societally wise, it seems safer not having four blades whipping around. Instead, you just kind of have a single delta wing aircraft flying. It really makes sense, and I know that these type of planes, I've seen a few people videos that I've come across on YouTube and things where people are getting into these single delta wings for FPV flight and stuff. So it kind of makes sense for them to go about this, and what better way to do this than to administer vaccines and things like this that are time sensitive. So very cool.
Yeah, and we'll put the link up on the show notes, and the catapult they're using. I want to say it looks eerily similar to the catapult that the military used back in the day to launch their drones.
Their drones, yep.
Right. And the other thing that's kind of an interesting part that I caught from this is they're using this drone-based delivery system to deliver these perishable items, the blood and the vaccines and whatnot. At the same time, the people that need these deliveries can actually request them through an app or a simple text message, it says. And I just came back from a visit to a country out in Asia, and then I saw this too. I mean, if there's one thing that's absolutely developed and just state of the art, is their technology when it comes to communication. We were out in the middle of the jungle, and then I was able to get 4G data, and I'm downloading at about a 20 meg speed. So it was just amazing to me that here in the U.S. I can't go down my basement, and I can barely get any service. You go to a third world country, you can you have all the technology in the world, and it's amazing that they're going to use that with these capabilities to try and get all this stuff delivered. So it's certainly going to be an interesting thing to follow, and then hopefully, like you said, UPS being involved, them being a huge shipping giant, will open up the floodgates, so to speak, and say, hey, there's a lot of opportunity here to bring it to other parts of the world.
And I think that this is the first step they have to take, is this immediate stuff, but I think it's going to how drones are going to be used. I don't think they're going to be delivering everything in the world. There are going to be a million drones flying over like satellites are, but
right.
I think for these time sensitive things like this, I think it completely makes sense to use drone delivery. So like I said, I think it's kind of a foreshadowing on how we're going to use drones in the future a little bit as well.
Right, absolutely. Next story. The next Moto X could have modular add-ons, just like the LG's G5. Lenovo's next Moto phone have surfaced via leaked images over the past few days, and VentureBeat, a publication, has published an interesting report hinting at some big plans, modular ones. For the upcoming devices, it seems that Lenovo will follow LG's lead in building and add-ons the owners of the latest phones will be able to buy to add new functionality to the core handsets. Unlike the LG G5, where the friend modules, as they're called, slide into the bottom of the phone, the next flagship Moto devices will have modular backplates. Once applied, the huge camera bump that stands out in photos will actually be flush with the various backplates, according to the VentureBeat. The patch of small circles on the back of each phones are magnetic pins and serve as connection between Moto X and amps, the Lenovo equivalent of LG Friends. There are currently 6 amps in the works, the report claims, ranging from stereo speakers to an extended battery pack, a camera grip with flash, an optical zoom, and even a Pico projector. It's already a far wide selection than what LG is currently offering. In the US, you've really got one extra friend to pick from, the camera grip. LG's Hi-Fi digital to audio converter DAC add-on is sold internationally but remains unavailable in the US. And incompatible with the G5 sold here. Droid Life claims that Lenovo will announce these devices in early June at the company's Tech World 16 event. two things that first came to mind. First of all, if this article sounds confusing, Lenovo did buy the Motorola arm from Google, so they are now the official producer of handsets. And I remember looking at actually both of us, you and I, Jason, we looked at the Google Air project, and that's where this all started with the modular phones. And it's been what, 4 years, and then finally now somebody's starting to come up with the different modules. And the part that's slightly disappointing is LG's Hi-Fi digital to audio converter is not sold in the U.S. and the phone is not compatible. So I'm sure there's bureaucratic red tape that's stopping somebody from some audio conglomerate saying nope, can't sell it because we have rights here in the U.S.
Yeah, there's two things I thought at first. Is the same thing you brought up. We talked about the modular Motorola components back when they were a Google company, many years ago. And when I first saw the LG G5 ads come out, I'm like, wow, I can't believe they got beat to the game when they were the first ones to really kind of bring an idea to market. And then my second thought was, who are they going to have pitch this? Because, we had Jason Statham for the LG project, and then you had Iron Man for I was going to put a Taiwanese company. I can't think of them right now. Help me out, Rock.
Huawei?
No. Oh my goodness, they're almost dead now, but I can't even think of the name. I was completely blank. But anyways, who are they going to have pitch this thing now? But no, the biggest thing is, like you said, it's really interesting that they're finally coming out with this now underneath Lenovo, and how they some of the more interesting things they have with the projector and things like that, where I believe mostly the excuse me, the LG one is mostly just battery and camera additions at this point in time. So should be interesting where this kind of goes in more of less of cool add-ons and more of like what the original plan with the Motorola phones were physically update individual parts of the phone, and have one base phone for many years, but upgrade the processor, upgrade the camera, things like that.
Yeah, and it sounds like they haven't really gotten to the actual core
HTC. Wow. I just
remembered
it. Sorry.
HTC, okay. Doesn't sound like they've gotten to the core components like the processor and the memory just yet. But this is a starting point where they can go, hey, we can change these out, and then there's a real live test. People are actually using it in the market. What's going to fail? How do people abuse it? Where do we need to or what do we need to improve? And how long do these things last? And then hopefully they'll come up with a version 2 or version 3 or whatever it is that can actually have a completely modular setup. So hopefully.
We will see. And our last story is a continuation from last week, talking about Bitcoin. Last Monday, the BBC gave an exclusive coverage of Craig Wright's claims that he was Satoshi Nakamura, who is the creator of Bitcoin. The following day, as many cryptographic community, cannot speak today, tore into his claim. He promised further extraordinary proof, but in the last 24 hours, his first initiated an experiment designed to show that he does possess Satoshi's cryptographic keys, then done an about turn with the blog saying he does not have the courage, quote unquote, to carry through with this. Basically what happened was on Monday evening, it was suggested that suggested to Wright's PR firm that he could send one fraction of a Bitcoin from the original blockchain, which would of course be returned to him. That might show that he was actually Satoshi by showing it was Satoshi's keys. But Wright's team came up with a different plan on Wednesday afternoon. They always stressed the endorsement was made by John, I believe it's Matness, and Gavin Anderson from the Bitcoin Foundation, that were found compelling, but they now and I have been involved in a failed experiment, which is bound to raise fresh doubts. They said they sent a draft blog in which outlined the scheme that would be seen by Matness, Anderson, and the BBC, and all send small amounts of bitcoins to the address used in the first ever transaction. Then he would send it back. and what would be the first ongoing transaction from the block since January of 2009. They went ahead with the payments, sent, I believe it was like 1700s, yes, 1700s of Bitcoin, about £5. Which you can see on the, which will be shown on the online records. Matness and Anderson sent similar amounts. They then waited and waited and waited. The phone rang. The news, the whole operation was on hold, quote unquote, from the PR team with no reasons given. 18 hours later, they're still waiting for payments to be made, and now Wright and his new blog says that is not going to happen. They have relied throughout on the expertise of Matness and Anderson. As of this moment, neither has withdrawn their original statements of support of Wright's case. So basically, what to sum it up is they said, hey, if we transfer Bitcoin from the original blockchain, then we can say it's you. And this is kind of what I hinted at last week. People were saying that there was ways that he could have faked a lot of the keys and things like that. He could have reverse engineered things to kind of make it seem like it was him, but the only real way to prove it was him is to make a transaction with the very, very first Bitcoins that were ever, quote unquote, mined from the blockchain. So I don't know if this is the nail in the coffin, but it definitely doesn't look good for us finding out anytime soon who Satoshi actually is.
Yeah, you're right. And the other part is, why would he do that if that's the case? So a lot of things that really don't make much sense. Maybe this was actually just a PR stunt, but this article came from the BBC, and from the sounds of it, the editor of the article, he's gonna keep bugging them, pestering them, trying to figure out what's actually going on. Whether is he gonna go through? Is he not? But we will find out, and if for some reason there is an update, I'm sure we'll be able to throw that in our show. Hopefully next week we'll know what actually happens. Moving on to our deep dive. This is actually a really cool article. The creators of Siri just showed off their next AI assistant. I don't know why they named it, but it's named Viv. Dag Kitloss and Adam Shaner created the artificial intelligence behind Siri, Apple's iconic digital assistant, showed off the newest creation, Viv, a next-generation AI assistant that they have been developing in stealth mode for the last 4 years. The goal was to create a better version of Siri, one that connected to a multitude of services instead of routinely shuffling queries to a basic web search. During a 20-minute demo on stage at Disrupt NYC, Disrupt New York City, Viv flawlessly handled a dozen complex requests, not just in terms of comprehension, but by connecting with third-party merchants to purchase goods and book reservations. The four major differences between Siri and Viv is that the latter is a far more open platform and emphasis on far more. It's not completely open source. One of the biggest frustrations with Siri is that it only has a small number of tasks it can complete for the vast multitude of requests or queries. Siri will default to a generic web search. Viv's approach is much closer to Amazon's Alexa or Facebook's Messenger bots, offering the ability to connect with third-party merchants and vendors so it can execute on requests to purchase goods or book reservations. The company's tagline, "Intelligence becomes a utility," nicely sums up its goal of powering the conversational AI inside a multitude of gadgets and digital services. It's kind of a contrast going from what Tay was, where they just launched out the AI assistant that is self-learning completely based on what people interact or how people interacted with it, to something like Viv, where there's a framework, there's a structure, but at the same time has the intuition to learn. And I think, Jason, you watched the video too. Some of the questions that they asked Viv was it raining in Seattle 3 Thursdays ago? Or will it be warmer than 70 degrees near the Golden Gate Bridge after 5 p.m. the day after tomorrow? And Viv was able to actually parse that information out and actually understand, not just look for certain keywords, actually do a voice-to-text conversion and then actually understand what you said and then come up with an answer.
Yeah, and that's what we talked about before the show, is that that's kind of what sets her apart, is most of the bots. Well, I mean, Alexa and like they said, Alexa and the Facebook bots, but those are all kind of separately written, but are all most bots are just almost like a customer service individual in between the information and you. And what Viv kind of does different, like you said, is she learns and she actually breaks down the information and figures out where it should go instead of just defaulting to sending a message randomly to a Google search, and whatever comes back is the top hit. It could be an ad, who knows? Is what she spits back to you. So it's just. I think this is the next evolution in bots is kind of what we've seen, like you said, with Tay and with the other AI out there, and implementing that with breaking the information down first before you send it to somewhere, which is kind of like we said is where Siri and Google Now and things like that have kind of come up a little short in the past, and not really knowing, without using a very, very straightforward command what to actually do with it. So, and we also said before the show, it just seems. I don't see this being a feasible thing of just being, hey, this is Viv, everybody's going to use Viv. Somebody's going to snag this up and implement it into their system fully, whether it be Google or whether it be, Facebook or somebody like that. So this has been just an acquisition, I'd say.
Right, and the other part is again we'll have the link on our show notes. Um, if you watch closely, you'll notice that Viv uses a lot of third-party sites. Now, the part that really doesn't get answered in the video is how do those third-party sites get attached to Viv? Somebody in that algorithm or somewhere in that algorithm it has to say use this
They
website.
pay a lot of money.
Right, exactly. That's where you're going. So, does this open up more marketing opportunities for companies to go with Apple? Most likely, but yeah, it uses something called dynamic program generation. So it's essentially just like it says, it breaks down what you say, and then it actually creates a program in a very, very short time, about 10 milliseconds, I think is what it said. So it's almost like creates a small tiny program internally to figure out what you said and then how to answer that, and then pipes that down to the back end. So it's actually pretty amazing, and they're going to open up the developer side of this, so anybody that wants to use it, and I'm sure there's going to be royalties, and I'm sure there's going to be companies, like you said, that's going to snag it up. I can totally see some automobile manufacturer taking this on and then embedding this into their like a self-driving or pseudo self-driving vehicle where you can say, oh hey, take me to the baseball stadium, and then all of a sudden it'll go, oh well, guess what, there's traffic up ahead, why don't you do this, or anything along those lines. So it's gonna be certainly interesting, but I'm interested to see what company snags it up and what they turn this to be.
Yeah, I think you were kind of going the right direction. What I was thinking too with it is, she almost seems like a translator more than an AI bot, where she's almost breaking things down into like lay terms. Unless you were two astrophysicists speaking and you had a couple of people listening on the sidelines, you're kind of like, what did they just say? Or Viv's kind of the person going, okay, they're talking about this, and that, and then spinning that on so that someone can actually compute it, use of that information. And I think, I don't know, there wasn't anything in the article, but it almost seems like that's where she came from. It was almost like a translation software where, with certain languages, there's about 3 different ways you could say something. With, English, there's there, and all this kind of stuff. And I think that's kind of the way she functions, is more of a high level instead of just taking information, spitting something similar out. She's actually hopefully physically, cognitively thinking and learning and doing things with it. So it's to me, it almost seems like a language translation than like you said, programming is a language, and making a programming out of it, or a program out of it, instead of just being a dumb voice to text translation with a search backend. So, but overall, I think, like you said, it's going to be somebody that has to be able to use it. The sad part is, maybe they can license it. I don't know. I don't think that's ever going to work. But I hate to see Uber get that, and other people aren't able to really use it and kind of go with it. But I guess we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I think they're using Nuance's voice to text engine, is what they
Yep.
said. So yeah, maybe they will actually license it, or maybe they'll make it um, a developer kit that you can purchase from Apple and then embed into whatever you want to do. Maybe that is the angle they're looking at it from a marketing perspective. But who knows? But it's certainly exciting to see where things are going, especially in the AI field. And we all know how much people use Siri, and then people take Siri for granted, assuming that. Not to say that Siri is anything lame or not advanced. She is extremely advanced, but that was your stepping stone, and now you got Viv that actually can, instead of just doing a web search, if the engine doesn't understand what you're saying, this actually can break down what you're saying, and then actually figure out what you need, what you're talking about. So we'll stay tuned, and hopefully we'll all have Viv on our phones. May it be Android or
Mark it on your
Apple.
calendar. 5 years from now, you're gonna be able to order a vaccine via sign language that'll get
Through
delivered by a
Viv.
drone.
Yep. Order it through Viv and then get delivered by a drone. And we all talked about on Wi-Fi optional. Well, that's our show for today. 28 plus minutes. Thank you very much for watching this episode. And if you do like it, don't forget to subscribe. It's right down here. You can also find your favorite episodes, the audio-only version, on your favorite podcast app. If you don't see us there, rss.wifioptional.com is our feed address. The audio version is also available on iTunes if you're an iTunes fan. If you do have any questions, comments, want to say hi, if you want to join a live taping, you're certainly welcome. Do hit us up on Twitter. We are at Wi-Fi Optional, or you can certainly drop us an email at info@wifioptional.com. And fire up the music here. Thank you to Purple Planet for providing the music for the show. Make sure to check them out at purple-planet.com. And my name is Rukshan Vijayaratne, and then I have Mr. Jason Wadicott as well. Thank you.
Have a good week.